I guess big thanks probably has to go to Andrew Hay. He was the initial person that got me involved with Property Council Regional Committee back in 2014 when we were doing our first stint of working together at Stride back then. Initially, the drive was essentially a bit of a desire to learn about the wider elements of the industry. I was relatively new to New Zealand, relatively new to the commercial property industry in New Zealand at that time. So creating a few more connections, I guess to touch on Andrew's point, those connections that people you would otherwise wouldn't bump into, you wouldn't have any dealings with, has been really, really important. That both through the networking events and also just having that seat at the table where you are learning things outside of your normal realm of doing business is really good. And for me, just that kind of thirst for more knowledge, for more information has always been really important. Obviously, the networking's been a bit more of a challenge for the wider industry in recent years. But I think the types of events like this, still hold really, really good value for Property Council and for the wider industry. Not least if you can use a bit of it towards your non-verifiable training and get a little bit more information. It's always pretty helpful. And I think it's been great to see Property Council adapt to those changing environments and adopt those things. So, absolute credit to the events teams and the regional managers around that sort of thing as well. Property Council has definitely provided me with a sort of, I guess, broader perspective, both economically and politically. You get to see how those things intertwine to a much higher degree, and how important they are, how important this industry is, and how important it is that all of us that are involved have a voice. And the seats, I think Brian touched on it, a seat at the table with the legislators, with the regulatory bodies, with the local councils to have those conversations. If you're not involved, then you're not having those conversations. And I think one of Property Council's greatest strengths is that ability to tap a local politician, to tap central government on the shoulder and say, actually, well-intentioned guys, but you do not understand the industry in the same way that those involved on a day-to-day basis do. And for us to actually be able to guide that conversation to a rational place. And I think that's a vitally important thing, and certainly over the last year or two, that's came to the fore even more. As a pretty passionate Wellingtonian, sort of getting involved in those conversations, getting a more holistic understanding of Wellington as a whole and its landscape has been important. That ability to influence outcomes, to use another person's phrase, I think, as well, has been really, really important. I guess getting to know and getting to work alongside some other, phenomenally passionate Wellingtonians in the property industry, the likes of Mike Cole, Paul Robinson, Mark Deniacek and Dennis Wood, all who have been involved with Property Council for many, many years and put in enormous amounts of hard work to secure the position that Property Council has at the table with relevant bodies. And look, a lot of those guys have become great mentors to me as well. And that's something that Property Council has definitely given to me that I value enormously. I think Andrew touched on engagement and accessibility as well. And, at times we have had the likes of Kevin Lavery, the previous CE at Wellington Council, and Justin Lester as members of the exec. So, they were at our table rather than us being at theirs, which has been fantastic to see. The credibility of PCNZ be at that level where those people wanted to be involved. I think Connell Townsend, Leonie's predecessor, was a great leader of PCNZ. I think more recently we've seen a great genesis under Leonie's strategy, and it's been amazing. That the growth of the advocacy has been amazing. Catherine Wilson and her team, and Denise and her team, the work that they put in on an advocacy basis that isn't seen, for a large degree, but is absolutely integral and vital to how our industry performs. It's really good. So credit to Catherine, Denise, and Leonie and their team for that. I think ultimately, PCNZ's end goal is to ensure that our industry is appropriately advocated for, and we would have a considerably more challenging regulatory environment if it weren't for their great work, which is funded for by the membership, by the events. Leonie, mentioned, it's about together shaping cities where communities thrive, and I think that's ultimately what Property Council does is make sure that we've got the right environment within which developers and which property owners and consultants and so on can actually work well to create communities to help build cities from an actual bricks and mortar point of view. And that's great. So yeah, look, I love being part of this organisation, and I hope that continues for a long time to come.